Hey everybody, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic, and welcome. I know we have a video to do, and I'm getting ready, but I think you know my preparation before that. As you can see, I am pretending. Actually, now I have my laptop here and my notes here, and basically, we are technically not even, by the time of this recording, we are not even on the date, the start of free agency. We're still in the quote-unquote tampering period, and we all know there's a lot of players that are being sourced that they're going to sign, they're going to move. No real drastic things, at least at the time of this record. I'm checking, refreshing. Some players have gone somewhere else. Some players that have been lifelong, contributor to a franchise has said, thank you, but I'm going to greener pasture, or because the money is greener over here. And today, we're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to be discussing their 2025 season recap and ask the question, I guess it finally broke? And now the question for a lot of Chiefs fans out there, and mainly the rest of us in the NFL, is the dynasty over? Can we take a sigh of relief? Are we going to have good football? Or have the Chiefs conjure another dark magic contract? Here are the 2025 Kansas City Chiefs. Now, to get the big things out of the way, according to the recording, some of the news that come up is that the Kansas City Chiefs may not have won the Super Bowl, but they have taken the Super Bowl MVP. Kenneth Walker, by the time this recording is going to sign a 3-year deal worth $45 million with $28.7 guaranteed. So the Seattle Super Bowl MVP is now going to join another team that could probably be back in the Super Bowl if we all think it's going to happen. I think the NFL, year in, year out, I feel like the chances of a team going back are probably smaller, but not, non-existent. Then again, I do believe the AFC should be better, but then that's putting a lot of hope in, like the Ravens, who just got Crosby, and Burrow, who hopefully stays healthy, and everyone else in between. But the Kansas City Chiefs was a team that I think every one of us, we all thought, and we agreed, they are more than likely going to go to the playoffs, win the division, and more than likely probably win the conference championship, because sometimes patterns makes, law. But then something tragic happened for the Chiefs. They started losing. And then they started winning, so people thought it was okay. And then they started losing to teams that you thought they shouldn't have lost that team. Because I said the highest point for the team was 13-4. Nothing about this made me feel like it was going to be in. I felt like Worthy was going to show it. Rasheed Rice, everything just felt like they're going to find a way they'll do it. And their defense was always felt like lately be more of the focus of the Chiefs' success than Mahomes. Even though Mahomes is on all the State Farm commercials. No, State Farm. Yeah, State Farm. So at worst case, 11-6, because I thought, hey, maybe Denver will be better. Hey, maybe the Raiders will steal a win like they do sometimes. And of course, the Chargers might finally get over the hump. Funny enough, they kind of did, but they still didn't win the division. So it's kind of like, oopsie, I still stubbed my toe when I'm leaving the airport. But them to go 6-11, that is the big surprise. And before some of you may say, well, may not recollectly remember, but, Mahomes didn't get hurt until week 15. So it's not like you can make the excuse Mahomes got hurt and the whole season, fell apart. No, they were falling apart very early. I mean, they started off 0-2 to start the season off, and then they, beat the Ravens, which I felt like that became more of a, wow, the Ravens suck, more than the Chiefs were back. Lost to the Jaguars on that, a 98-yard pick six in the goal line. And then they just started losing. And then basically ended the season, like I said, before Mahomes' injuries, they ended the season with a 5-game, 6-game losing streak. Wow. Wow. That is something. That is something. And I think a lot of us were more shocked on just how bad it turned out. But I feel like this kind of put a major spotlight on the holes of the Chiefs. And the biggest factor that I keep hearing that's the reason why the Walker pickup was so vital. One, it changes my draft pick projection and prediction in the video. But it kind of made it feel like, because the big thing we kept hearing was there were a game where Mahomes was the leading rusher. And we all know Mahomes is athletic, but he's not like Lamar in that it's kind of like it's like a design uniqueness. Is Mahomes is not that type of athlete. He can scramble. It's kind of like an Aaron Rodgers a little bit, where he can scramble and he has to. But I they will never design a run scheme option for Mahomes unless it's like at the goal line, and that's meant to just throw the defense off. But this was just bad. Kelsey look all, and according to this, Kelsey said thanks to his fiance Swift, yes, they're still fiance, not married yet. That he's coming back for his 14th season. Sure, sure. I mean, why not? Why not? I mean, uh, ACL tear, according to the NFL average, is 8 to 12 months, sometimes 6 to 8. So people say Mahomes will be back. I think Mahomes will be back, but he won't be ready to go until my thought is going to be the first week of October. So enjoy those first 4 weeks of September for Kansas City, because I don't think Mahomes will be ready by week 1. You want to believe that? Fine, but even the Chiefs will go 0-4. There's still 13 games left, and Mahomes is healthy. I think you'd rather take those 13 games with a healthy Mahomes than force him in too early. RG3, anybody? RG3? You want to have your own RG3, Kansas City? No. So let's talk about your best game. The best game for the Kansas City Chiefs was Week 12 versus Indianapolis. Indianapolis was the hot team. They were the new hotness. And similar to another team, they started falling off. But this was one of the games that was like, okay, it felt more like a rebound for the Chiefs to say, like, we're not done, we're coming back, Kansas City. Now, what's interesting about the game is that the Colts had no turnovers and no sacks, but they still lost the game. Now, granted, 42 minutes and 35 seconds time of possession will dictate everything, not to mention nearly 500 yards of offense, which also credit to the Chiefs' defense, which I've been saying, they kept the rushing attack of Taylor and company basically to under 80 yards. So that, to me, is their best game. It kind of showcased that they're not done. Yes, it's Week 12, but the way the season after that goes, I mean, you get the Cowboys, Texans, Chargers, Titans, Broncos, and Raiders, there was still a chance they may not win the division, but they were getting to the playoffs. And I think a lot of us felt like them taking the Colts probably made a lot of Chiefs fans, including a lot of experts, go like, and this is where the Chiefs will go on a run and they'll get hot into the playoffs and probably steal a win or two and get back to the conference championship. Then we got to deal with people like Nick Wright again for another 6 months of dominance and bickering. But your worst game happened the next game. The Kansas City Chiefs versus the Dallas Cowboys, Week 13 at Dallas. Now, this was a game that I said the Cowboys were going to win, even though I know the Cowboys literally had no defense. Because for some reason, there were games, like when I talk about the Cowboys, talk about it, there were a game where the Cowboys just felt like they were the better team. If only their defense can just get like one stop, force one punt, something, they probably would have been in the playoffs. Carolina game, it comes up to mind mainly for the Cowboys, and because Rico Dowdle was running the ball against them, and that was a big factor. But this was the game that I feel like was the worst one, because it felt like the Chiefs had more of a balance of offense and a good defense. The Cowboys were strictly offense, and they were still able to dominate that game. Yes, the scoreboard, looking back and back, Mahomes had 4 touchdowns, no turnovers, yeah, all that great. But man, did it really feel like the Chiefs defense just couldn't buy a stop, or that the Cowboys were just like, screw it, we're probably not going anywhere. Screw it, let's just throw crazy all over the field. And it's one of those games for the Cowboy fans, I felt like, see, this is why we got to keep Dak Prescott. And there's a part where I look at the Chiefs going, you guys have a defense. What's your excuse? Dallas has no defense. So if you guys would have won 35, 28, we're like, well, yeah, because you actually have a defense. They pretend to. But no, it didn't. So worst game, because you just had a big momentum win, and then you just get pumped down by the Cowboys, and anyone losing to the Cowboys just takes the whole week away, demoralized, and then that basically sparked the rest of your losing streak. So, yeah. So that will be the story there. Going to your MVP, it's Mahomes. Mahomes covered a lot. Patrick Mahomes covered a lot. This is not, when I talk about MVP, I don't talk about statistics as much, even though sometimes statistics does back up the MVP. But sometimes Mahomes' ability to save the team sometimes covers up. They always say, like, victory, covers up flaws, and losing kind of like, exposes them greater, or some philosophy of that. Mahomes MVP, not because he's the quarterback, because there was a lot of times, like I said, he led the team in rushing in certain parts of the season, and it just felt like it was him, because Rice, when he came back, but now Rice is in more hot water. Travis Kelce is getting older. He's in his 14th year. There's only so much he can do. He did kind of look like he lost a step. Doesn't mean he's not viable. It just means that he's not Mr. Reliable. And Worthy, I felt like he's a go-getter, but into it. Pacheco, by the way, breaking news. Pacheco is now joining the Detroit Lions. So I guess that kind of emphasized more on the Walker pickup, because now it looks like Detroit will have a new Sonic and Knuckles team up, I guess, because we all know Montgomery is going to be a Texan. Yeah. So to me, Mahomes MVP, not because of stats, but because of what he was able to cover up with his ability. And like I said, like the Cowboys game, he threw for 4 touchdowns, no interception, still lost. And it kind of was really apparent when he went down, because his injury at week 15 impacts the offseason. And you're kind of hoping in a weird way, it's like, don't rush him, he's not ready, we don't want RG3, but then again, you're like, well, Tom Brady got an ACL injury, and he came back better than ever, so you kind of hoping it's more Tom Brady and not RG3, or else the Chiefs dynasty ends before you guys move to Kansas. Yeah, that's probably what happened. So, final verdict for the Chiefs. I'm going to give it a D for disappointment, not D for like a bleh. Disappointment. You guys, it was disappointing. You guys didn't play well. You guys did everything you could. And the good news is that you guys have a quarterback still fairly in his prime, so rebuild, renew. We all know that there's going to be a time for Mahomes' career, if he stays with Kansas City for the longer haul, that he'll be there past Andy Reid and past Travis Kelce. So we will see, just like what Tom Brady did after, Bruschi and Seymour and all the receivers left, besides Bill Belichick, because Bill Belichick is immortal. He's bound by the death god. That Mahomes will have to eventually adapt to a new scheme, to a new life, probably another 5 years, past, Reid and Travis' retirement. So, to me, it's a D for disappointment, not because of lack of defense, just because it's disappointing. I can't give it an F, but D, because they're better than that. Now, when it comes to drafting, initially I was going to put Jeremiah Love. I got to go look at my notes. I was going to put Jeremiah Love as my, pick, because, one time the running. But they got Walker, and Walker's 25, so he's still fairly in his prime, and he might have found his groove back. So for that, we all know that McDuffie went to the Rams, and I think Watson also left, so they lost 2 corners. So I guess the big one, we'll say at the 9th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs probably will get Mansour Delane, cornerback, LSU. The question I'm wondering is it so apparent that because they got 2 corners gone, that they'll go strictly defense and not wait? There's a part of me thinking of Caleb Down, but because the injury report makes me kind of feel like avoid him. There's also the Francis, the offensive tackle from Miami, the Hurricanes, I'm considering as well. There's a part of me thinking Carnell Tate, get a wide receiver at number 9, who'll probably still be there. But McDuffie was gone, and you guys been really good. I mean, think of the Chiefs getting up secondary players, whether it's from free agency or from the draft, how well they have done, and then they go on to other things to make money. So, for me, I will put my chips on Delane, the cornerback from LSU, as my pick for the Kansas City Chiefs draft class. But I can see, I mean, they let Taylor's gone, so Francis, the offensive tackle from Miami Hurricanes, the U might be appropriate. But for me, I'm going to go with Delane. And that is the Kansas City Chiefs. It was fun. It was hilarious. But we all know that if it's a good team, one bad season doesn't end its dynasty run. They'll just have to restart it again. So, the team we'll talk about next time will be the team that actually won the division and, quite frankly, got a short stick of short sticks. We'll be talking about the Denver Broncos, the AFC West champion Denver Broncos, who were basically one ACL away from probably making at least the Super Bowl more entertaining between Denver and Seattle. Would Seattle probably still would have won? I really don't know about that one, but we all know it would have been a better game than what we got with New England. Sorry, suck it, Patriots. But I love ya. So until next time, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic. Thank you so very much for watching.